Even without newspapers or Facebook, the word was spreading about Jesus. Many of the Jewish leaders did not follow Jesus. These leaders, in fact, were very angry that Jesus was teaching things so different from their traditional doctrine. However, some Jewish leaders did trust Jesus, and Jairus was among them. As we recognize Father's Day this Sunday, I have to pause and realize that I've been in the place Jairus was in this lesson. Jairus has a queasy stomach. Thoughts are bouncing through his head. He is trying to understand what is happening and why it is happening. His daughter is either dead or dying, and the clock is ticking. So Jairus is desperate. He goes to the only source of help he knows, Jesus. Now, these events in this lesson are also recounted in Mark and Luke, but Matthew gives the abbreviated version. Matthew writes that Jairus approaches Jesus humbly, falling to his knees, saying, "My daughter has just died, but come and put your hands on her and she will live." Now, Mark's timeline differs slightly. Mark writes that Jairus said that his daughter was dying, but when they were on their way to his home, a messenger comes and says that the little girl has died. As a ruler of the synagogue, Jairus was well known and well respected in the area, but now he is helpless. His 12-year-old daughter was dying or dead, and he believed the only solution, the only way for him to see his daughter was for Jesus to perform a miracle. Now, let's keep in mind, Jairus is a man of high status, but he openly submits to Jesus. This is a major act of humility, but this is a loving father willing to beg on his knees for his daughter. This was a Jewish leader seeking help from an unschooled, itinerant teacher to save his daughter. At this point, Jairus does not care what religious society would say about him. Jesus more than knows what Jairus is feeling. He, in fact, feels what we feel when we are in pain. On his way, a large group of people follow Jesus and Jairus. The crowd is around him. A woman was there who had been sick, and she had an issue with bleeding. She had been suffering for more than 12 years, had spent all of her money to try to get it resolved. No doctors had solved her problem. Because of Jewish law, she was a little bit of an outcast. This woman heard about Jesus. In the crowd, she touched his clothes. She believed, if I can touch his clothes, there would be a healing. A personal note here. 22 years ago, I was on a gurney. I was having a heart attack in this hospital, and they were wheeling me into the operating room trying to save my life. I remember asking to touch the hem of his garment. She and I touched that hem and experienced beyond our imagination a resolution. Her bleeding stopped immediately. Her suffering was over. With a crowd surrounding him, Jesus felt this faith-filled, healing touch. It was different. He felt power going out of him. With his compassion, he turned and let her know that her faith had made her well. Now, obviously, Jairus was worried about his daughter. Some would say this woman had interrupted Jesus when he was on his way to save the child. But Jesus never thinks of our needs as an interruption. After all, he has all the power. Arriving at the house, imagine the pain of Jairus, as all signs are that it was too late. Jairus had just witnessed the power of Jesus over sickness, but this was death, and he had not seen that kind of power. Now he has to believe that Jesus has the power over death. Jesus told all the mourners who were there crying about the girl that they did not need to cry. But these unbelievers laughed. They scoffed at our Savior. God's ways are much higher than man's ways, and the people who were in the house mourning just simply didn't understand what Jesus was saying, and that probably explains why I grossly underestimated the power of the healing him that I was asking to touch while on that gurney. Jesus took the girl's hand and she rose. The mother, father, Peter, James, and John were completely amazed. They knew Jesus had power over sickness, and the disciples knew that Jesus had power over nature and evil, but now they could see he had the power over death. As I talk here with a heart with an inverted T wave, that means I actually had a heart attack, but with a heart that no doctor can see any muscle damage in, a heart that makes cardiologists scratch their head and say, I can't see it. How can this be? I've found the answer. Never underestimate the power of the healing hymn and the touch of Jesus. Happy Father's Day. That's the lesson for this week. Have a great week. Bye.